In the cold silence of space, the crew was used to long hours of routine, checking sensors, logging data, and watching distant stars. But that day, something unusual appeared on their screens, a signal unlike anything they had seen before. It started as a simple pulse, almost like a heartbeat, regular and steady. Lieutenant Mara, the communications officer, was the first to notice it. "Sir, we are receiving an unknown transmission," she said, her voice calm but tight with curiosity. Captain Reyes leaned over the console, studying the strange pattern. "It doesn't match any known frequency, any known alien protocol." The signal repeated a single line over and over in a language that seemed impossible to decode. But when the universal translator tried, a terrifying message appeared, clear and chilling. "Your star is next." The words flashed on the screen, and for a moment, the entire crew froze. A cold silence filled the control room. Heavier than the vacuum outside, Dr. Lin, the lead scientist, tried to reason. "Maybe it's a threat. Or a warning. Or a test," she said, but her voice trembled slightly. The crew checked every protocol, every possible explanation, but nothing made sense. They realized this was not just a random signal, it was intelligent, deliberate, and powerful. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers away, back on Earth, the news reached the Global Space Council. Emergency meetings were called. Scientists and military leaders debated what to do. The signal. "It is from an unknown civilization," said Admiral Singh, "not just unknown." "Dangerous," replied Dr. Lin. "We are talking about a species that can send a warning about destroying stars." Back on Aurora 9, Mara continued to monitor the transmission. She noticed subtle patterns hidden inside the signal. Numbers and coordinates. It was like the aliens wanted humans to understand something. But only just enough. Captain Reyes realized the truth, his face pale in the dim control room light. "They are not asking. They are warning us. Something is coming for our sun," he said quietly. The crew started preparing emergency measures, trying to analyze the alien technology. Every theory they had was tested, from wormhole weapons to energy shields, but nothing seemed enough. The signal continued, persistent and haunting, like a heartbeat counting down. Dr. Lin studied the patterns late into the night. "They are powerful, ancient, and they do not negotiate," she said, almost to herself. As the first night passed, the crew realized the enormity of the threat. The aliens were not just a distant danger. They were here, monitoring, deciding, waiting, and humanity had just begun its first contact. Without knowing what it truly meant, the tension grew, and sleep became impossible. Every blink of the console lights felt like a countdown, every silence louder than the last. The final scene of the first day showed the alien message flashing one more time on the main screen. "Your star is next," and Captain Reyes, staring at the glowing letters, whispered to the crew, "We are not alone. And we are not ready." The cold void of space seemed darker now. The humans on Aurora 9 understood they had entered a game that had no rules. And somewhere in the dark, the alien eyes watched, patient and hungry. The first contact had begun. And the fate of their son, and perhaps all of humanity, hung by a thread. The crew of Aurora 9 spent the next hours trying to understand the alien message. Every screen in the control room flickered with strange patterns, numbers, and symbols. Lieutenant Mara ran calculations. Dr. Lin studied the signal structure, and Captain Reyes tried to make sense of it all. But the truth was far beyond anything humanity had faced before. "This is not just a message," Dr. Lin said quietly, pointing at the screen. "It's a record, a history, and a warning." The symbols revealed glimpses of an ancient species, one that had traveled from star to star, consuming suns to survive. Each civilization it touched vanished, leaving only silence behind. Captain Reyes clenched his fists, his mind racing. How can something this powerful even exist? How can it reach us so easily? Mara, calm but tense, replied, "They are not just powerful. They are smart. They think like predators. They do not just attack. They calculate, they plan." The Human Council back on Earth demanded answers. Global satellites relayed all data, showing the alien signature was massive, energy signatures unlike anything recorded. Dr. Lin explained, "They don't need ships like ours." A meal. To them, a shiver ran through every scientist and officer listening to her words. The room grew silent. A thought of the sun disappearing in a bright, clearer this time, almost conversational. "We give you a choice," it said. "Give your star willingly, or we will take it by force." The words echoed in the minds of every human listening. It was not a threat. It was a statement. Cold, precise, final. The crew of Aurora 9 felt a mix of fear and determination. Some argued that surrender might save humanity. Others, like Captain Reyes, shook his head firmly. "We cannot give up our home. We cannot give up Earth. Humanity has never surrendered," he said. Mara nodded, adding, "We have survived worse than this. We fight not because we can, but because we must." Dr. Lin returned to her console, her eyes wide with discovery. The aliens' patterns hinted at past encounters with intelligent species. Every civilization had been destroyed except one, and even that one barely survived. "They expect us to fear them," she whispered. "But we are not like the others." Meanwhile, small satellites around the solar system began detecting alien fleets approaching. The massive ships were not just machines, they were living constructs, pulsing with energy, absorbing light as they moved. Humans realized that resistance would not be easy. But retreat was not an option either. As the crew analyzed the alien movements, Captain Reyes called everyone together. "We must understand them, learn their weaknesses, and prepare our strategy," he said. He looked each of them in the eye, and they understood the fate of Earth rested on their shoulders. Every human decision now mattered. Every plan could mean survival or destruction. The last transmission from the aliens before the crew's first night in orbit was chilling. "We will arrive in 72 hours. Decide wisely." And as the signal faded, the silence of space felt heavier than ever. The humans stared at the stars, realizing that they were facing a threat not of weapons, but of hunger, a predator that devours suns, that destroys civilizations, and that had chosen Earth as its next target. Yet deep inside, the crew felt something else, something the aliens had never counted on. Humans did not fight to consume, they fought to protect, and that determination would soon be tested in ways no one could yet imagine. The countdown had begun. Somewhere in the darkness, the alien eyes watched, patient, hungry, and calculating. But for the first time, the humans were not afraid, they were ready to fight. The humans aboard Aurora 9 spent the next hours preparing for what they knew would be the fight of their lives. Every crew member felt the weight of their decisions, knowing that the sun itself, the heart of their solar system, was the prize. Captain Reyes paced the command deck, deep in thought. "This is not just a battle," he said quietly to Mara. "It is the survival of every human on Earth." Dr. Lin analyzed the alien patterns again and again. "They are predictable in a way," she said. "They always take what they want, but they underestimate the courage of their prey." The crew began to devise a plan, not to fight them head-on, but to outsmart them. They knew their weapons were weak, their fleets small. But humans had something the aliens did not: imagination. Courage and unity. Back on Earth, world leaders argued fiercely. Some called for surrender, fearing the alien power. Others shouted for resistance, inspired by human history of survival and defiance. Admiral Singh, his face stern, addressed the council. We have faced wars, famine, disasters. But this is the first time the universe has truly tested humanity. He said, "We fight because we must." On Aurora 9, the countdown ticked closer. The alien fleet moved like shadows across the distant stars, silent but immense. Mara and the communications team sent a message back to Earth. "We cannot surrender. We will fight. Humanity will not bow." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of a species unwilling to be broken. The alien response was immediate, almost shocked. "No species has resisted willingly." "You are illogical." Their voice pulsed through the network, Captain. Reyes smiled faintly. "Perhaps it is our logic that they cannot understand," he whispered. For the first time, humans realized that the alien strength was not infinite, and their arrogance could be used against them. The crew prepared defensive stations, but the real strategy was cunning, not brute force. Dr. Lin had discovered a way to use the sun itself as a weapon, a dangerous maneuver that could redirect its energy without destroying the planet. Lieutenant Mara coordinated human satellites to create a trap, and Captain Reyes addressed the crew, his voice firm and inspiring. "Humanity has faced impossible odds before. We do not fight to conquer. We fight to protect. That is our strength." As the alien fleet drew closer, the humans felt fear, but also pride. They were ordinary people, but now they carried the extraordinary will of humanity itself. Every calculation, every choice mattered, and as the first alien scout ships entered the solar system, the humans made their move. They did not attack blindly. They used intelligence, teamwork, and courage. The alien scouts were stunned by unexpected resistance, a force unlike anything they had ever faced. Humans moved with precision, striking weak points the aliens did not anticipate. For the first time in history, an alien predator faced a species that refused to bow. The last scene of Part 3 showed Captain Reyes standing at the bridge window, watching the stars. "They think fear can control us. They are wrong," he said, his eyes steady. The countdown still ticked. The alien fleet still approached, but humanity had chosen their path. They would not surrender, and they would not hide. Somewhere deep in space, the alien leaders watched. With surprise and curiosity, they had expected resistance to crumble, obedience to come easily, but humans were different, and that difference would soon change the course of the battle. The stage was set, the first strike was coming, and the universe was about to witness why humans could never be underestimated. The alien fleet moved silently through the darkness, massive shapes stretching across space. Their energy pulsed like living fire, absorbing light from distant stars. As they approached the solar system on Aurora 9, the human crew braced for the moment they had trained for. Every hand was steady, every eye focused. But the tension in the air was almost unbearable. Captain Reyes gave the order, "Prepare the satellites. Initiate the sun trap." Lieutenant Mara and her team worked quickly, coordinating hundreds of automated systems. Dr. Lin monitored the alien fleet, calculating trajectories, weaknesses, and patterns. "This is it," she said, her voice calm, but her hands trembling slightly. "Our sun is our shield and our weapon." As the first alien ships entered the inner solar system, humans made their move. Satellites fired energy pulses toward the approaching fleet, creating a web of light and force. The aliens recoiled, momentarily surprised by the unexpected resistance. They had never encountered a species that fought with strategy, not just power. The battle intensified. The silence of space broken by bursts of energy and flashes of light. Humans used every trick they could think of: decoys, traps, synchronized attacks. They did not have the weapons to destroy the alien fleet entirely, but they had ingenuity. Each move forced the aliens to adjust, and every adjustment revealed new weaknesses. Captain Reyes watched the energy patterns on the main screen. They think they are in control. But we are guiding them into our trap, he said. Mara adjusted the satellite coordinates, her fingers flying over the controls. Dr. Lin's calculations were precise, each strike feeding off the sun's power without endangering Earth. The aliens, enormous and ancient, realized for the first time that humans were unpredictable. Their scouts fell into the traps one by one, their shields faltering against clever attacks. Even the alien leaders were surprised, their calm calculation replaced by something they had never felt before: doubt. For centuries, no species had resisted them willingly, and now humans stood before them, defiant and fearless. The battle reached its climax as humans synchronized the sun trap perfectly. A massive pulse of energy shot out from the satellites, bending the sun's light and force directly toward the alien flagship. The flagship trembled, its energy shields flickering, and for the first time, the aliens felt fear, staring into the determination of a species they thought weak. But the humans paid a price. The solar energy pulses strained the satellites. Aurora 9 shook as systems overheated, alarms blared. Every crew member worked with relentless focus, knowing that one mistake could end everything. And yet, despite the danger, they never wavered, because they fought not for power, but to protect their home. As the last pulse hit, the alien flagship faltered and retreated, its fleet scattering. The humans had survived the first strike. And for the first time, the universe had witnessed human courage in full. Captain Reyes exhaled, exhaustion and pride filling his chest. Mara smiled faintly. They underestimated us. They always do, Dr. Lin nodded. They may never understand humans, but that is exactly our strength. The final scene of Part 4 showed the alien fleet retreating into the darkness. The humans had won this battle, but the war was far from far over. Earth remained safe for now. But the aliens had learned something important. Humans were not just prey, they were fighters, and somewhere in the shadows of space, the alien leaders plotted, knowing that humanity's defiance had changed the game forever. The countdown to the next encounter began silently as humans prepared for whatever came next. And the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter over the planet that refused to bow. The alien fleet had retreated, disappearing into the Fajun to the Pel, and someone in the Taman fleet had retreated. Dark reaches of space. For the humans on Aurora 9, it was a moment of relief, but not of celebration. Captain Reyes knew this was only the beginning. We have survived the first strike, but the real challenge is still ahead, he said, eyes fixed on the distant stars. Back on Earth, people cheered the news, but the scientists and leaders understood the truth. The aliens were not defeated, only delayed. Dr. Lin spoke during a global broadcast. They have underestimated humanity. They have never faced a species that fights to protect rather than destroy. Her words spread across the world, and pride filled every human heart. They had survived the impossible, and that survival had changed the way the universe saw them. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the alien leaders gathered, analyzing the humans with new interest. They are unpredictable, one of the elders said, its voice cold but tinged with confusion. Every species submits. Every species obeys, but these humans... Another nodded. They fight not to conquer, not to consume, but to defend. This is unusual. The aliens realized for the first time that fear alone could not control humanity, and that realization sent a ripple through their entire civilization, a mix of respect and caution, on Aurora 9. The crew prepared for the next stage, not knowing when the aliens would return. Captain Reyes looked at Mara and Dr. Lin, his voice steady. We survived because we fought together. We survived because we refused to give up. That is why we are dangerous, Mara smiled faintly. They will learn sooner or later that humans cannot be easily destroyed. Dr. Lin nodded. And even if they try, we will find a way. That is humanity. The sun, still burning bright, became a symbol of human courage. Every pulse of light reminded the universe that humans fight with more than weapons. They fight with will, creativity, and heart, the alien scouts that returned. After the battle carried back tales of human defiance, other star-eating civilizations began to whisper, learning of a species that refused to bow. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, those whispers grew into warnings. Avoid Earth. Humans. Do not surrender. But for the humans, there was no arrogance, only resolve. They had survived the impossible, protected their home, and stood tall against a predator unlike any other. Captain Riaz addressed the crew one last time before returning to Earth. We may not know when they will return, but one thing is certain, he said, voice strong. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not break. Humanity protects. And as the Aurora 9 drifted toward home, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter over the planet that had refused to surrender. The humans had faced an ancient predator, outwitted it, and survived. The galaxy would remember this day not because of fear, but because humans had shown courage where others would have fallen. From that day forward, across countless star systems, the name of humanity carried weight. Aliens, predators, and civilizations alike learned one truth. Humans do not fight to destroy, they fight to protect. Humans do not surrender, they endure, and the stars themselves learn to fear humanity. The final transmission from Aurora 9 went out into the void. A simple message for the universe: we are here. We will protect our home. We will survive. Humanity will not be forgotten. And somewhere in the vast darkness, the alien leaders paused, realizing that the universe had changed, not because of their power, but because humans had dared to fight back, and that courage, that defiance, would echo across the stars forever.